Well, on the federal election campaign trail, it was the week that world events influenced the pace of campaigning, with the death of Pope Francis shifting both leaders' focus for a couple of days. But this week also gave leaders their last chance for a spot of verbal jousting, with the final leaders' debate on Tuesday night, I think it was, giving both leaders the rare opportunity to call each other liars to their face. Was not to be missed. There was also one or two significant announcements made by both parties, but is anything pledged from this week on pretty much a moot point, given that pre-polling has opened and more than 1 million Australians already in the first week have got their democratic duty over and done with early, so it doesn't get in the way of the long weekend. Well, Jeni and Ray Bonell live in Toowoomba with their 16 children, many of their children still living at home. So as a family, they're struggling as much as any family with the escalating costs of living. So they've agreed to be our federal election community correspondents for this campaign and give us their thoughts on the pledges made by both parties as the campaign goes on. Ray is travelling today, but Jeni Bonell is with me this morning. Jeni, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, David.
Jeni, thank you again for your time. Can I ask you firstly, what announcements this week from either side of politics has attracted your interest?
Actually, as they've been making these policy announcements, Ray and I have been sitting very late at night, sort of having these conversations about politics, which is not something that we would normally do, but it's been quite interesting. We're on the same page with most things, so yeah, we've just sort of been going along and listening to them. But yeah, a couple of interesting things this week.
That's interesting. So is it you don't normally talk politics, throughout the year, but does it become the conversation normally around election time, or is it just this particular election because I guess you and like for a lot of people with the cost of living and a lot of different changes in society at the moment, there's a lot riding, I guess, on this election.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, we've always been pretty much on the same page, but yeah, I think things are just so tough at the moment. You want to make sure that when you vote that it counts and that you get your say and that something changes, because we can't keep doing this the way it is going at the moment.
Well, in one of the biggest announcements this week in the campaign, opposition leader Peter Dutton has promised to spend an extra $21 billion on defence by 2030 if elected, and that would bring defence spending up to 2.5% of the gross domestic product, which is higher than the current level of 2%. The Shadow Defence Minister wouldn't be drawn on how the coalition will pay for the boost in defence spending, but admitted that trade-offs would be required, and was certainly suggesting that it was money that had to be spent due to the current global climate. Do you believe this increase in defence spending would be money well spent? Because I guess it's an area that doesn't directly affect the average voter, I guess, until it does, I suppose.
Yeah, I like to try and sort of compare the national budget to my own household budget. And to keep my family safe, if I had to give up some of the flashier, fun things in life to be able to buy, security cameras or new locks for the door to make sure that we're all safe and secure, it's just one of those things that you have to do. So spending more on defence, I call a boring spend, isn't it? It's something that is necessary, but it's just a boring thing, isn't it? Like,
yes,
it's not fun for everyone, but you need it because the world is very volatile, and we want to keep our country safe and protect our way of life.
It's a good analogy, but and I guess it's a bit like insurance, really, isn't it? No immediate gain, but it makes you feel safer.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely. It was also announced this week that a re-elected Labor government would invest $78 million to fast-track fee-free training qualifications for around about 6,000 tradies. The Advanced Entry Trades Training Program has been designed to pretty much speed up the process, so allowing students or participants to gain trade qualifications in 7 months instead of several years. The Master Builders Association has come out and said that for every new qualified tradie, that's equals an extra 2.4 houses being built that year. Do you believe this is a step in the right direction to ease the housing crisis, or should they be doing other things?
Possibly. I think that everyone would agree that we need more workers. We need more people out there doing their jobs, because the workers are the ones paying the taxes, and we need the taxes to support the budget. I think you'd have to be very, very careful if you are pushing people through their studies and their qualifications quickly, that we keep our standard. We are so lucky in Australia to have such high standards in amongst all of our industries. And I personally think that they should be looking maybe at giving better pay rates to entice people to get into these jobs and then support them that way, because I don't think you can rush teaching skills.
It does seem, without knowing the detail, condensing something that takes several years into several months, you sort of think something's got to give, I guess, don't you?
Yeah, I don't think I'd want somebody who's just, 7 months in building my house.
No. Well, I'd want their boss to be certainly looking over their shoulder. I'd want them to have a boss, someone a bit more experienced, I think. Yes, probably a fair point. It's also this week, and I'm not sure how much coverage this got, but independent candidate for Groom, Susie Holt, she's claiming both leaders are taking Groom for granted. Do you agree? I mean, would you have expected either of the leaders to spend any time in the seat of Groom during this campaign?
Yeah, I don't think it's a very smart move. Because, safe seats are not 100% certain seats, because, things can change, policies change, leaders change, so people's votes can change too. So what we see on TV, what we read in an article can often be skewed or edited, but to actually see somebody face to face, meet them, see how they're reacting with people, I think that's super important. Policies are one thing, but great leadership is key. So, and you can't tell that unless you actually see them with the local people.
Indeed. So perhaps they are taking Groom for granted, and many other seats that they haven't visited, I guess.
I think so.
Just lastly, Jeni, pre-polling has begun this week. Predictions are that roughly half of Australian voters are expecting to vote early, which is a new record for the country. Experts say voters are trying to avoid large queues on election day, and many don't even meet the criteria to vote early. But I don't think that's a hard and fast rule anymore. But what's your opinion on this trend towards pre-poll voting?
I love it. I think if you know who you're going to vote for, then we don't have time in our busy lives to be, standing around and waiting just for one weekend. People have got jobs. If you're like me, I'm caring for ageing parents. Does anyone really want to stand in a queue for 2 hours just to tick a box? So I think if you know who you want to vote for, then yes, there should be the convenience to be able to go out and vote when we can.
Can I ask, will you be voting early, or have you already voted?
Well, I'm caring for my mum, so yeah, I'll be voting early. Yep,
fair enough. It's I think always the fear in the back of certainly my mind too is I don't mind voting on the day because there's a polling booth just down the road, but what if you forget? What if you get distracted and before you know it, you look at your watch and it's 6:30 and the window is closed? That's a horrifying thought. So yes,
the fine for it today.
Exactly. Yes, little wonder that it's such a growing trend. Jeni Bonell, thank you very much for your time. I'll look forward to catching up with you next week, and we'll see what the last week of the campaign contains. But for this morning, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Talk soon, hey?
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jeni. Jeni Bonell, our community federal election correspondent.